This isn't anime related, but I wanted to speak about this not as an anime content creator, but as an Asian American. Rick Chow was found not guilty in the murder of Cyrus Carmack-Belton after chasing him down for 130 yards and shooting him in the back over supposedly a stolen water bottle. It is disgustingly similar to the murder of Latasha Harlins in 1991 when Korean store owner Soon Ja-do fought her and shot her in the back of the head as she was leaving over supposedly a stolen bottle of orange juice. I'm glad that a lot of other Asian Americans have spoken up about this already, so I don't have too much to add. I just want to be another point from which we can speak out against anti-blackness within our community. The fact that these two events happened 35 years apart from each other makes me question if we as Asian Americans have even made any progress as allies. I've seen so many other comments from other videos regarding this issue from black people saying that they feel like they don't have any allies anywhere. And you know what? If we as Asian Americans stand complacent while their children are being chased and shot in the back, we don't deserve to call ourselves allies. That's why I believe the most important thing right now is for us not to just be in solidarity, but to actively speak out against anti-blackness when we see it. If we don't, we are upholding white supremacy and proving to people that we have a desire of proximity to whiteness at the expense of our fellow minority communities. I'm sorry, I really don't have any profound words or anything. I'm more angry than anything else. But all in all, we as Asian Americans need to do better. We need to show that we do not stand for the murder of black children. We need to show that we do not stand for anti-blackness. And overall, we just need to do more to prove that we are actual allies to our fellow black community.
Cyrus Carmack-Belton, may he rest in power. He was horrifically murdered by being shot in the back after being chased over 100 yards. The man who murdered him is named Rick Chow, and he's a Chinese gas station owner, and he allegedly did it because of a stolen water bottle, and he was just found not guilty. A child being shot in the back is extremely upsetting for any reason, but it's even more upsetting because we live in a country that normalizes brutalizing black and brown bodies, that doesn't let black children have their innocence, and doesn't give justice to these black children. In this case, just further proves that. This case is also bringing up conversations about anti-black racism in the Asian American community, in the Chinese community, because despite all the work and fighting that black Americans have done to grant us the civil rights that we enjoy today, we have not shown up in solidarity in return to continue this work of undoing systemic racism, especially anti-black racism. And Chinese people have honestly shown that they are capable of performing violence on the black community, both directly and indirectly. The roots of anti-blackness in China, as I understand it, is quite complex and cannot really be reduced down to a TikTok, but I'm going to try anyway. And Chinese people, black people, feel free to correct me on anything. The three roots are colorism, media, and white supremacy being internalized as progress. Root 1, colorism. This is easy to understand. In China, it is seen as more desirable to have fair skin, and that leads to problems. Root 2, media. There are not a lot of black people that live in China, so a lot of Chinese people get exposed to black people through media that depicts black people negatively, and a lot of that comes from Western media that portrays black people stereotypically, but some of it comes from domestic Chinese media as well. I remember going to see a movie called Wolf Warrior 2 in cinemas in China, and it took place in Africa, and it was not a positive depiction of Africa or African peoples. And that was a very popular movie in China. Root 3 is white supremacy being internalized as progress. Much of modern Chinese history is defined by Chinese people being humiliated by Western powers and Japan. And this reaction to this century of humiliation is progress by any means necessary, and that means copying the West in terms of industrialization, in terms of the economy, and also in terms of white supremacy culture, which includes anti-black racism. This white supremacy culture positions white Europeans as advanced and sophisticated, and positions black people as at the bottom of this perceived racial hierarchy. Notice how none of these roots include any incidences historically of black people harming Chinese people in any way. The Chinese diaspora brought these attitudes over to the United States and other Western countries, where these attitudes were further exacerbated by the notion that you have to internalize white supremacy ideals in order to survive in this country. We as Chinese Americans must admit that anti-blackness is a problem in our community. We must commit to undoing this racism, which is a byproduct of centuries of exploitation and colonization. We must commit to learning more about Black and Indigenous histories here in the so-called United States, and we must recognize that this work is ongoing, that it's probably never going to stop, and that the more you learn about anti-Blackness here in this country, the more you recognize that anti-Blackness has its tentacles in a lot of aspects of American life. We need to commit to this so that we can recognize when we're being used as a pawn of white supremacy, when we're being used as a wedge to divide peoples of color, whether that's through the model minority myth or some other means. We need to commit to anti-Black racism because this violence needs to stop. We need to stop harming our Black neighbors, and we must build something better together.
I am speaking specifically to the Asian community right now. We need to stop pretending like anti-Blackness does not exist in our community, as if it's not a problem, because it is. We see it in the stereotypes that get repeated in our homes, in the way some people talk about Black communities, in the excuses people make when Black people are harmed, and in the silence that follows when accountability is needed. The response for some Asian Americans for the killing of Cyrus Carmack-Belton has been deeply disappointing. Instead of centering a 14-year-old Black child who lost his life, some people rushed to defend Rick Chow, justify the shooting, or shift blame onto Cyrus himself. That should disturb all of us. We cannot keep demanding solidarity from other communities when anti-Blackness within our own community goes unchallenged. We cannot talk about the racism Asian Americans face while refusing to acknowledge prejudice that exists in our own families and social circles. The model minority myth has convinced some Asian Americans that proximity to whiteness will protect us. It will not. That myth was created to divide communities of color and to encourage us to see ourselves as separate from the struggles of Black Americans. When we buy into that mentality, we become participants in a system that harms all of us. Accountability is not anti-Asian. Calling out anti-Blackness is not anti-Asian. Using to excuse harmful behavior because the person involved is Asian is not anti-Asian. It is the bare minimum. If we are serious about justice, then we need to be willing to confront uncomfortable truths about our own community. That means challenging anti-Black comments when we hear them. That means rejecting stereotypes. That means listening when Black people tell us about their experiences. And that means recognizing that solidarity is a commitment. It is not a slogan that you wear, that you can just slap on whenever you want. Cyrus Carmack-Belton deserved to grow up. He deserved to be safe. He deserved better than the assumptions and the fears that ended his life. As Asian Americans, we have a responsibility to confront anti-Blackness wherever it exists, including within our community.
Today, we are discussing the death of the 14-year-old Cyrus Carmack-Belton, the border conversation that followed an Asian American reaction to his verdict. This is true verdict. Before we begin, credit to the creator of the Stitches video and commentator whose perspective helped inspire today's discussion. We encourage viewers to seek out the original creator and listen to the full context of the message. Now, grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk about a story that sparked outrage, grief, and difficulty. Conversation about race, accountability, and solidarity in America.
So, I saw that there was a verdict in the Cyrus Carmack, Rick Chow case. And as an Asian American, I definitely feel like it's my responsibility to speak out about this. I can't say that I am surprised at all, but I think that as Asian Americans, we really need to continue doing the work to address the anti-Blackness in our communities. I've listened to parts of the son's testimony where he, claims that Cyrus pulled a gun on him. I don't think he's being truthful at all there. I mean, Cyrus was shot in the back, so how could he have pulled the gun, for example? And this immediately when I heard about this, I thought about Latasha Harlins, who was killed by the Korean convenience store owner in LA. I think this was back in 93. It was back around the time of the LA race riots and was actually one of the events that triggered the LA riots. But anyway, I don't think the Chow family is being truthful. I think it's really, really, really shitty that Black children can just be shot down like that. Like, their lives are worth nothing in the eyes of the justice system. I don't know. I don't know how much I can do, but at the very least, I'm going to keep talking about it.
Every time I try to take a social media break, something happens that I obviously need to address because it is really important. Right now, a Chinese man named Rick Chow, who is a gas store owner, shot and killed a 14-year-old Black teen boy named Cyrus Carmack-Belton over $1 water. If I cannot articulate all my thoughts right now, it's because I have so many and it's just kind of jumbled. So I'm just going to do a crazy word vomit because if you do not know already, I am a daughter of a liquor store owner that is in predominantly Black and brown neighborhoods. I'm not going to go into the history of why we're there and why it's obviously problematic and how it's predatory and all this other stuff, because that's not the point of this right now. The point is, as somebody who obviously grew up in a liquor store, grew up in a store setting, and also I've literally made a film about this it's called Liquor Store Dreams, my first film. It's about me being a daughter of a liquor store owner, as well as combating anti-Blackness within the Asian American community and how do we bridge together understanding and generational divides. My second film that I'm working on right now is about Asian American gun owners as well as victims of gun violence. This story is very much at the intersection of everything that I've been interested in. And so I feel like I'm in a unique position to talk about it because I already understand what it feels like to be a store owner in a lot of Black and brown neighborhoods. We've had teen boys and girls come into our store, steal chips in front of our face. They'll go run out. There have been situations where my dad would go chase after them, and then he's met with them spitting in his face and whatnot. Or one time my mom got punched in the face. So to me, I'm like, I understand what happens. At no point in any of these situations warranted a gun or the thought process of I need to kill this person. To me, it's very infuriating, not just the blatant racism of Rick Chow and his whole entire family, and the racial profiling. I saw the surveillance video. The racial profiling, just everything that happened. Rick Chow should have gotten the highest punishment because you killed somebody. You literally killed somebody, and it wasn't self-defense. Let's get that really clear. When you go out, and isn't this gun ownership 101? As somebody who's not a gun owner, especially within our store, we specifically did not want to own a gun because we understood what happened in 92. Especially with La Cha Cha Harlins. Did we Asian Americans not learn anything? I think our community certainly learned a lot. And the fact that this happened, I want to say I'm shocked, but also this is America. And this is twofold. Not just the racist Asian Americans that still exist in predominant and store owners that exist in Black and brown neighborhoods, but two, the racist jury who understood, you know what? We understand. We're going to make this situation worse because of the racism. And they're going to be like, they're thinking, we're going to pit the Asian and Black community together because that's what they did. That's what they did. If they had just given the highest sentence, not full justice, but it's justice in this sense. Yes, we want somebody to be able to pay for their crimes. And the fact that the jury, I don't even need to know who they are. The fact that the jury, I already know it's racist. Because for them to think he went out, and there's a power play here. There's a power difference between the store owner and a customer, especially if the customer is a young person. In those situations where me and my parents have, when my parents got spat on by 14-year-old teens, my dad also understood they are children. My dad is a very angry man, and yet at the same time, he was able to control his emotions. And to me, there is no justification for killing somebody. Let me go back to the white jury, because I know they're white. They love to pit Black and Asian people together because they also want Black people to throw the first stone. So it justifies the police, the government, whoever, to feel okay when they enact violence against them. They want this to happen because then the focus is not on them. The focus is not about fighting the system, fighting them. They're gonna fight each other. And instead of boycotting Target and everything else, you know what? They're gonna boycott the Asian businesses. Which to me, I'm like, I always say, I'm in full support of what Black people do. You should do what you need to do at the end of the day. Because a lot of people do not learn. They may learn through when their pockets are affected. But even when, I'm also thinking, even the corporations. Like, who's the real enemy here? White supremacy, anti-Blackness, which is pervasive and everywhere. And it's very frustrating because so much of our history should inform where we should be, and we're not. And I think that's the hard part. And if you don't see a lot of Asian Americans speaking up, I'm gonna repost everybody that I have come into contact with, because there's people out there that are talking about it. And I don't know. There's just a lot of thoughts of me that's very frustrating for me, because to me it is very illogical. It's almost like, as somebody who has been there is no justification for your actions to murder somebody, to kill somebody, to literally gun down somebody. That is not self-defense. Do not fucking bullshit me with that. It's not. And this is coming from a fellow store owner. So, I'm gonna end rant here. There's a lot of things happening. I'll post it up. We'll see. 2x this.
This is not just a story about one tragic incident. It is also a story about how community responds when a child lost his life, how people justify violence, and whether we are willing to confront uncomfortable truths within our own communities. Many Asian Americans have spoken out following the verdicts involving Rich Chow. Some have expressed disappointment, frustration, even anger at the reaction they witnessed from parts of their own community. Their message was simple: anti-blackness exists, and pretending it does not exist does not make it disappear. According to those voices, anti-black stereotypes are often repeated behind closed doors in family conversation, social circle, cultural space. They argue that when Black people experience harms, there are too many people willing to make excuses, shift blame, or remain silent rather than demand accountability. For many, what was exactly painful about the discussion surrounding Cyrus Carmack-Belton was the attention quickly shifted away from the fact that a 14-year-old boy lost his life. Instead of centering the child who died, some people focus on defending the shooter, justifying the action taken, or questioning the victim's behaviors. That reaction disturbed many observers because, regardless of race, politics, and personal belief, most people agree on one thing: a child should be able to grow up. A child should be able to go home safely. A child should not lose his life over property. The debate has also revived memory of another case that remained controversial decades later. In 1999, the killing of Natasha Allen became one of the most discussed examples of race tension between Black and Asian community in America. Many people have drawn comparisons between the two incidents because both involve allegation of theft and both ended with a young Black person being shot. For some Asian American commentators, the fact that these discussions are still happening decades later raises a difficult question. Have we actually made progress, or are we repeating the same pattern generation after generation? This commentator argued that true allyship is not simply posting hashtag, issuing statements, and claiming solidarity when it is convenient. Real solidarity requires action. It means challenging racist comments when they occur. It means rejecting stereotypes even when they come from family members or close friends. It means listening when people describe experience that may be different from our own. It means being willing to criticize harmful behavior regardless of who commits it. Some activists also point to what is called the model minority mix. This argument is that this stereotype encourages some Asian Americans to believe that success comes solely through hard work while ignoring systematic barriers that affect different communities in different ways. Critics say this mass has historically been used to divide minority communities rather than uniting them. They argue that when communities complete the acceptance instead of standing together, everyone ultimately lost. This conversation is not about attacking Asians America. It is not about signing guilty to an entire community. It is a certainty, not about promoting hate towards anyone. It is about accountability. It is about to ask whether we are willing to confront prejudice, whether it exists, because accountability is not anti-Asia. Calling out anti-blackness is not anti-Asia. Demanding justice for a child is not anti-Asia. Those principles should apply to everyone equality. The voice speaking out today are not doing so because they hate their community. They are doing so because they care about it. They want their community to live up to the value it claims to believe in. They want allyship to be more than slogan. They want solidarity to be more than a social media post. They want future generations to inherit a better relationship between communities than the one that exists today. At the center of all these debates, arguments, and political conversation is one fact that should never be forgotten. Cyrus Carmack-Belton was 14 years old. A young life was lost. A family was left grieving. And no matter what people stand on, the legal outcome, many believe that reality deserves to remain at the center of the conversation. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe community can effectively confront prejudice within their own culture group? And what does this allyship look like when difficulties conversation becomes unavoidable? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's have a respect discussion. If you find this video thoughtful, provoking, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Truth Verdict for more discussion on justice, race, culture, and the story that shaped our community. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, always seek the truth. Bye.